Welcome to ABC Interactive English. Everyone, hello, I'm Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And we are back here with part two of three of our story of Jonah and the big fish. Since this is the middle of the story, I'm expecting a lot of exciting things to happen now. We know that Jonah had a pretty interesting job.
Yes.
Yeah. What was his job again?
He was a messenger for God. So he's supposed to go deliver a message, tell people something. But instead of doing that, he got on a boat and he's in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of a storm right now. So, I don't know, maybe it's about time for a big fish to show up.
Well, that could be, absolutely. Jonah was a prophet. He had to go and do a job he didn't want to do. So he kind of ran away from work.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's even if your boss is not God, the creator of everything, running away from work because you have to do something you don't want to do, that will get you in trouble, even if you work at, you know, a fast food store, restaurant or something like that. Never mind if your boss is God. So he decided to run away on a boat.
Yes.
But then as soon as he kind of got out on the ocean, things went wrong.
Yes. So obviously God knows where he is.
Yes.
And he decided to punish him with a big storm.
Yes.
So right now they're all floating on a boat.
That's right.
In the middle of a storm.
There you go. And it seems like a good time for our big fish to appear. Since there's a big storm, a big ocean, you would expect a big fish to show up. What do you think the big fish is going to do?
Well, I'm wondering if maybe the big fish is going to come over and maybe help the boat in some way.
Okay, but isn't God angry with him?
Oh,
that
well,
seems like a pretty easy way to get off.
Maybe the big fish is gonna just knock over the boat.
Maybe he's just gonna eat Jonah.
What?
Bite him in half.
That doesn't make
like
any
in a
sense.
shark movie or something.
Oh, maybe if it was a shark.
Who knows? Yeah, or maybe Jonah will end up riding on the back of the big fish, like a performer in a circus or something. That would be kind of cool.
Well, it is kind of a you know, out there story as far as, you know, there's a lot of power and all this stuff. So maybe he does, maybe he talks to the fish.
I would think riding a big fish would be like a reward. That would be a prize. That would be a good thing. So it might not be that. Well, we're gonna have to find out by reading the story. So let's do that now.
Jonah told the sailors to throw him into the sea. After that, the storm would stop. The sailors didn't want to do that because they didn't want Jonah to drown. Then the storm got worse, so the sailors threw Jonah over the side of the ship. As soon as they did, the storm stopped. What's more, Jonah didn't drown.
Okay, so we are in part 2 of Jonah and the big fish. And Jonah is on the boat. If you remember, the sailors are really scared because this is a terrible storm. And they just don't know what's going on. But Jonah is kind of like, ooh, guys, this might be my fault. I think God is trying to punish me. So he actually talks to the sailor and gives a very interesting suggestion.
Yeah, you would think Jonah's kind of a scared guy, maybe even a coward, right? Not brave. He's running away from his job. He's running away from God. The storm comes along. I would expect him to be holding on to that boat, like, please save me. I don't want to die. Well, he might be feeling that, but at some time he realizes that this is his fault. And maybe God is angry with him, but all of the other people on the boat could die because of that. So we would call him a stand-up guy. He does the right thing when he needs to, even though it's very scary. It says, Jonah told the sailors to throw him into the sea. Throw him off the boat and into the sea. Of course, this will be extremely dangerous for Jonah. He could die, he could drown in the waves, in the water, in the storm, but hopefully he thinks that would maybe save the boat and the sailors. He says after that, the storm would stop. So he's kind of like, guys, this is my fault. I didn't want to be here, but you gotta throw me in. If I do, you'll say it. I'll die, but that's okay. The sailors didn't want to do that because they didn't want Jonah to drown. Well, these are some nice people.
I'm a little surprised at the sailors if they're that afraid and Jonah is saying, guys, this will make the storm stop. I'm surprised they're not just like, okay, goodbye.
That's true. Sailors are often very practical, right? They will face the real situation. They might go, really? It's your fault? Okay, yeah, get off the boat because we don't want to die. And we don't want to lose our expensive boat too.
Yes.
But of course, if they do throw Jonah off the boat, he could drown.
Yes, and drown is the verb that means to die by being, basically you go underwater, you can't breathe anymore, then you drown. So as kind of a gruesome topic, but lots of different ways of dying have different names. And so this drowning is the way of dying from being underwater, not able to breathe anymore, you're down there too long, and then you drown. So that's the way of dying by water, I guess, is a way to say that.
Of course, if you can't swim, you're more likely to drown in the ocean, but people can drown in swimming pools.
Oh, yeah.
You could drown in your bathtub, right? If you suddenly go unconscious or if someone has a heart attack, they could slip under the water. And of course, babies can drown in very small amounts of water. But of course, generally, people are in an ocean or a lake or a river. They get too tired to swim. And then sadly, they go underwater and don't come back.
Yes, and so that is the word drown.
Yeah.
And so we see, okay, they don't want him to drown even though there's a big storm. Well, but then the storm got worse.
Oh no.
So it was already terrible, but then it got worse. So I think the sailors are kind of like, well, maybe it's time to try your idea.
That's right.
So the sailors threw Jonah over the side of the ship.
They did it.
You told us to.
That's right.
You said it, so here you go.
And the storm has just gotten more and more terrible and more frightening. So, okay, yeah, sure, off the boat. So they grab Jonah, they throw him off the boat and say, thank you, as he falls into the water. Now, as soon as they did, the storm stopped. There you go. So Jonah was on the right track. He had the right idea. God was angry with him, and luckily the sailors will be saved. And here's the really surprising little twist to our story. What's more, Jonah didn't drown. Of course, suddenly the waves get much calmer, the sea is much flatter, the wind and the rain stop. Now he can kind of swim and keep his head above the water, not so much of a danger of drowning anymore. So maybe by doing the right thing and being brave and sort of, saying sorry in a way to God, God is like, okay, I'll let you off this time. I'm not angry anymore. So this could be the end of our story. But of course, it isn't the end of the story because we have no big fish. We need a big fish.
Yes. What's
Where's
he
the
gonna
big
do?
fish?
Well, it must be close to
It
Jonah
must be
now.
on the other side of the break, right? Well, let's hope.
God sent a big fish to swallow Jonah. Jonah was in its stomach for 3 whole days. During that time, he prayed to God, apologized, and promised to obey God.
All right, we are back with Jonah. He is busy swimming in the ocean, but it's a calm, peaceful ocean. There is no storm around. The sailors in the boat have been saved. So I guess at this point, the boat will turn around and come back and pick up Jonah, and everyone will have a laugh and they'll continue on their journey, right?
I don't know. I think if I was a sailor, I might be like, you stay over there.
We'll throw you a piece of wood and you can slowly swim to your destination. We'll just go on our own. But of course, the story is Jonah and the big fish.
Yes.
And God was angry with Jonah. And God has now just kind of saved Jonah. I'm not sure Jonah has been punished enough for God's liking.
Yes.
So let's see what happens right now.
Yes, and it says, God sent a big fish to swallow Jonah.
Oh, no.
Ooh, so either that's a really big fish or Jonah is very small because it is swallowing him whole. And to swallow means to put in your mouth and swallow down into your stomach. So obviously if you've got food in your mouth and you're chewing, that is one motion. And then the next motion would be to swallow it and put the food down into your mouth. So here we have a giant fish who is not necessarily eating because we didn't hear any chewing, but just swallowed him into his belly or into his mouth or throat, wherever he might, into his stomach. Yeah, I swallowed it all the way down into his stomach.
Exactly right. Yes, no biting, no chewing, no ripping, no tearing. Jonah is still alive and in one piece. So this probably isn't like a shark or something like that, right? I mean, can you think of a food that you just swallow and you don't bite and chew with your, maybe oysters, right? Some people, they do that, they just swallow it. But yeah, most people would eat the food before swallowing the food. But no, not this big fish. It just swallowed Jonah, and so there he is. It says Jonah was in its stomach for 3 whole days. Wow, that big fish doesn't poop very much. That's probably good for Jonah, but still, that must have been an interesting 3 days in the belly of a big, that must have been a really smelly, fishy place.
Yeah, that would not have been fun at all.
No, I don't think so. So there he is. He's trapped inside this big fish, inside the stomach of the big fish. During that time, he was kind of bored. So during that time, he prayed to God, apologized. I'm so sorry, God, I won't do it again. Please let me out of here, but don't make him poop me out. And he promised to obey God. So here he is feeling very regretful. He is making promises about good behavior if you let me out of this terrible situation, I will be so good in the future. I will never make you angry again. We've all done this, right? When we get in trouble, it's natural to do, and you're just hoping for any good luck to get you out of this bad situation.
Yes, and so he started by apologizing. So he's praying to God and he's apologizing. And apologize is a verb and it means to say sorry. So if you apologize for something, you're saying sorry, that's my fault, I want to try to make it better, all of those things. But it is really just kind of the more formal word of sorry, to say sorry. So I apologize for making you upset. God, I'm sorry that I didn't listen. Please let me out of this fish's stomach because yuck.
Exactly right. And that's, yes, as Sam said, what we do when we're in trouble, when we've done something bad. Hopefully we feel bad too, and we're not just saying the words. So first you apologize, you say sorry, you take responsibility for the mistake or the problem. And then often people might promise afterwards to not do this again. And when you promise, you're basically saying words that are very important to you. You want the other person to believe you and to trust you. And you're kind of saying, this will not happen, or I will do this, believe me. These words are not just words I'm saying, they are my true heart feelings, and you really want that person to believe you because you're saying something that is not a lie. You're making a promise. We can also use it as a noun. You're saying something that will definitely happen in the future. Believe me, I mean it, and I want you to trust me.
Yes, and so here Jonah is promising to obey God. He says, if you let me out, I will do this, and I promise, and I will obey you. And obey means to follow orders, basically. So if God says to do something, he will do that thing. That is obeying what he has asked you to do. So again, it's a little bit more of a formal word. You might use it in more like I need to obey what my teacher says, this kind of like more important situation, but it just means to listen to what somebody is saying and follow what they tell you to do. You must obey your parents, must obey the teacher, must obey the police officer, something like that.
That's right, and since we are out of time, we have to obey the rules of our program and say goodbye right now. We have no more time. But we will be back tomorrow and we will find out how Jonah gets out of this rather smelly place he has found himself in, and hopefully it does not involve going out the other way. He wants to go out through the mouth, not through the back part. Yeah, we'll have to come back and find out. See you soon.
Jonah told the sailors to throw him into the sea. After that, the storm would stop. The sailors didn't want to do that because they didn't want Jonah to drown. Then the storm got worse, so the sailors threw Jonah over the side of the ship. As soon as they did, the storm stopped. What's more, Jonah didn't drown. God sent a big fish to swallow Jonah. Jonah was in its stomach for 3 whole days. During that time, he prayed to God, apologized, and promised to obey God.
Hi, I'm Tina. 我们来看这一课的重点单字。第一个 swallow, swallow 动词吞下。The bird swallowed a worm quickly. 那只鸟迅速吞下一只虫。下一个单字 apologize, apologize 动词道歉。Ben apologized for being late to the meeting. Ben 因为开会迟到而道歉。下一个单字 promise, promise 动词承诺、保证。Nelson promised to call me when he got home. Nelson 承诺到家后会打电话给我。最后一个单字 obey, obey 动词服从、遵守。The soldiers obeyed the order. 士兵们服从了这个命令。接着我们来看重点文法。第一个 the side of 加名词什么的一边 side 是名词，意思是侧边。我们来看看这个例句 The house is on the side of the hill. 这座房子位于山的侧边。下一个文法 as soon as 一怎么样就怎么样，这是一个从属连接词哦，后面要接完整的子句。As soon as 可以放在句首或句中。我们来看看这个例句 As soon as the bell rang, the students left the classroom. 钟声一响，学生们就离开了教室。最后一个文法 pray to somebody 向某人祷告。Pray 指的是祷告、祈祷。我们来看看这个例句 People pray to the gods for good health and happiness. 人们向神明祷告，祈求健康和幸福。以上就是这一课的重点单字跟文法，我们下一课再见，拜拜。
Hey, 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 it's Kiwi on the street. I'm Kiki.
And I'm Winnie. Can you shh? You're talking so lewd right now. I just need you to shh. I have a headache.
So lewd. What are you talking about?
Shh. Quiet, please. You're talking way too lewd.
Quiet. Loud.
Bruh.
Loud.
Oh.
Looks like we need to work on some pronunciation.
Okay, it's time to work on some pronunciation. Can you please read this for me?
She's content with her body.
She is content with her body.
She is content with her body.
Oh, very good. But what about this?
The content of this lesson is boring.
The content of this lesson is boring.
Very
very
good. Okay, what did we learn today?
Let's work on some pronunciations. Today's word is content, but it is also content. So this is an instance when one word actually has 2 meanings and 2 pronunciations, even though it's spelled the exact same. So our first sentence is she is content with her body. You will notice the intonation for content goes up. Content. She is content with her body, which means the word content is an adjective. The second sentence is the content of this lesson is boring. We have the same word, but it is a different intonation and a different pronunciation. You'll notice it's going like an arc. The content of this lesson is boring, which makes this version of the word a noun, content. That's all we have for today. Kiwi later.